A very good evening and a warm welcome to the Business Roundup on another weekend. We are Television bring you as usual another collection of latest happenings and developments in the business arena easing your decision-making moments. I'm Heshain Ali and let's have a look at the headlines first. America is fully positive with the President's proposal of renegotiation of the MCC agreement. Relief package for the SME sector will increase the money circulation satisfactorily, State Minister Singha says. World Bank predicts Sri Lanka's growth to be at 3.3% in this year. News in detail. The government's policy of facilitating the SME sector is not just to strengthen the treasury, but to increase the money circulation in the country while the production sector goes up. State Minister Singha made these remarks addressing the media at the Temple Trees last Thursday.
If you see from the small and medium scale enterprises, what was the contribution on VAT? There was absolutely no contribution because they all were crashing. So the reductions have been given also considering the fact that there was very less contribution because they had no turnover. They didn't have any way of rolling the business. So our policy itself is not to strengthen the treasury only. So while we strengthen the treasury, we will ensure that money circulation in this country will go up. Even by giving a 2 million amount to a Ramaseva division, the main point what we focus is, we will have it up and going again. We will create confidence among all people in Sri Lanka that country is back in safe hands, safe leaders, and that we have started to progress. So our policy itself, I have always told, is not only to strengthen the treasury and fill the kitty in the treasury. We will ensure that people get more benefits, and if we can do that, the economy will grow, and at the same time the required or anticipated contribution to the treasury will come.
The Millennium Challenge Cooperation Agreement with Sri Lanka will be renegotiated after the commission appointed by the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to study the agreement concluding its study, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of State of South and Central Asian Affairs Alice Wells said. Ambassador Wells, who was on a two-day official visit to Sri Lanka, made this revelation after engaged in bilateral discussions with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in Colombo last Tuesday. During the discussion with Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs Alice Wells, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has told her that the proposal to MCC agreement is being studied by a panel of experts at the moment. The President has also noted that the aspirations of the people of both the US and Sri Lanka should be taken into consideration in the future activities of the MCC agreement as both countries respect democracy. Ambassador Wells said the US government respects Sri Lanka's decision to appoint a committee to study the proposed agreement and will await the outcome of that process. Meanwhile, addressing the reporters before her departure, Alice Wells said she also delivered a letter from US President Donald Trump to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and the letter underscored the commitment and interest by the US to further its partnership with Sri Lanka. Discussion focused on economy, elections, collaboration to generate foreign direct investments, securing human rights, and ways to strengthen the partnership between the two countries. Expressing concerns on Chinese investments in Sri Lanka, the US officials said the Hambantota port agreement with China is unsuccessful and an injustice to the Sri Lankan people. Deputy Assistant to the US President Donald Trump, Lisa Curtis, and US Ambassador to Colombia, Elena B. Teplitz, also participated in discussions with the Sri Lankan President and other officials. The port city Colombo has successfully achieved 12 million safe work hours with zero accidents, giving training to more than 1,000 local suppliers. This was announced at the first social responsibility report released by the Port City Colombo by its parent company, China Communications Construction Company, last Monday.
We have purchased 2.4 million tons of stones or granites from local suppliers and 7.1 million liters of diesel, 36,500 tons of cement and 650 tons of steel were purchased locally, and 1,500 local suppliers been given training by the company. So it's a capital, talent, management and technology transfers that what Czech Port City Colombo is doing as a value project. So more than 16 countries and international agencies and local agencies has been involved to develop Port City Colombo throughout. So the quality project, we have achieved the 12 million safe man-hours by Checkport City Colombo without no accidents, no casualties. So that's one of the biggest achievements that we have achieved so far under the quality project category.
Moreover, the first social responsibility report released by the Port City Colombo says that 550 million rupees has been allocated for the Fishermen Livelihood Improvement Program.
Another part of this responsibility was to look after the fishermen who were doing their day-to-day fishing within this range. The sand for the filling was borrowed from a pit which was closer to the Nigambu fishery district. So because of that, there was a condition which was laid saying that at least 500 million rupees should be spent for the benefit of these fisher families who might get affected due to the activities of the project. So the company, the Checkport City Colombo Private Limited, established a separate office in Nigambu to look after the fisher families of the Nigambu fishery district as well as part of the Colombo fishery district. So the 500 million was spent on improving their living standards, and that also was completed. So the company has spent more than 500 million for the benefit of these fishermen.
Stay tuned for more news right after this commercial break. Welcome back after the break. The World Bank says in its January 2020 Global Economic Prospect says that the growth in Sri Lanka continued to soften in 2019 to an estimated 2.7% as tourist arrivals collapsed following the terror attacks in April. The report also mentions that Central Bank of Sri Lanka eased its policy stance with cuts in interest rates and reserve requirements in response to subdued economic activity.
According to the latest report by the World Bank, Sri Lanka's growth is projected to advance to 3.3% in 2020. The World Bank expects an acceleration afterwards, which will be supported by recovering investment and exports as long as the security challenges and political uncertainty of 2019 disappear. The report also adds that the growth is seen to stabilize around 3.7% over the rest of the forecast horizon, in line with potential growth. Lack of progress in reforms to improve tax collection could result in more acute revenue shortfalls in Sri Lanka and put further pressure on elevated fiscal deficits. The report also warns, saying that unexpected tightening in global financing conditions could sharply raise borrowing costs and lead to stops in capital inflows for countries with elevated debt levels and large current accounts. However, World Bank forecasts that growth in Bangladesh would remain above 7% throughout the forecast horizon, with a solid macroeconomic framework, political stability, implementation of planned public infrastructure projects, and ongoing reforms to improve the business environment under this projection. In overall, growth in South Asia is projected to gradually pick up over the forecast period from 4.9% in 2019 to 6% in 2022. At the same time, the report also says Sri Lanka could benefit from that regional economic activities such as policy accommodation, improvement in business confidence, and support from infrastructure investments.
The Asian Development Bank announces that it will review a proposal to invest $100 million in credit guarantee firm, which will serve small and medium-sized enterprises of Sri Lanka in February. The ADB has initially approved the project in February 2017, following due approval by the Cabinet Ministers in 2016.
Asian Development Bank has taken time for a fact-finding mission to support setting up the new non-bank finance firm as requested by the Sri Lankan government. The finance firm will be set up through the Treasury with a $0.5 million technical assistance grant from the ADB. ADB also announced that a management review meeting will be held on the 24th of February as the final step before a project is presented to the ADB board for approval. The initial concept paper for the project was accepted by the ADB in February 2017 after submitting a report to the Cabinet in 2016. SMEs make up 52% of Sri Lanka's gross domestic product but have trouble accessing finance to expand their businesses due to a highly traditional and risk-averse banking sector. The ADB stressed that the new guarantee institution should be well-funded, efficiently managed, financially sustainable, removed from political influence, operated with the highest level of corporate governance, and subject to central bank regulation and supervision. Meanwhile, an official from the Treasury said that the ADB has already provided a $175 million credit line to support SMEs in Sri Lanka, with a special focus on empowering women-owned businesses.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa instructs officials to plan a target-based strategy to promote the tourism industry in Sri Lanka, increasing its income to $10 billion by 2025. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa made these observations during a meeting with officials of the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation held at the Presidential Secretariat last Monday.
Issues related to the tourism sector and measures to promote the industry were broadly discussed during the meeting held between the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and relevant officials. President emphasized the necessity of upgrading the quality of facilities provided to tourists visiting the country and that the amenities at airports should be streamlined. Importance of developing places of tourist attraction and building an effective promotional mechanism was also highlighted by the President. It was also emphasized that promoting the indigenous Ayurvedic system, which has already become highly popular among foreigners, and unique activities such as surfing and endorsing Ceylon tea are of paramount importance.
ආර්ථිකයේ ඉක්මනින්ම අපිට ඉස්සරහට ගෙනියන්න පුළුවන් එක තමයි tourism.
Our economy can be easily improved through the tourism sector. Mere tourist arrivals are not satisfactory to our country, but they should spend in our country too. One of the major targets of the ambassadors is that they should promote our country by help finding profitable markets to tap in. In this regard, Tourism Board can inform the ambassadors on the markets which are indispensable for the country. We require a skilled team with expertise and dedication. On my part, I do not hesitate to take decisions for the benefit of the country, and I expect the officials would commit themselves to pass benefits of such decisions onto the public while being result-oriented. If there is a target-based plan, every challenge can be overcome.
State Minister of Tourism Promotion Arundhika Fernando says Sri Lanka tourism, together with several other ministries, will redevelop Hamilton Canal to a major tourism attraction similar to canals in Europe, since the rich flora and fauna near the canal is ideal for ecotourism.
Explaining further on this proposal, State Minister of Tourism Promotion Arundhika Fernando notes that Hamilton Canal, which is a 14.5-kilometer canal connecting Puttalam to Colombo, passing through Negombo, will be an ideal tourist attraction if it is redeveloped with international standards. The canal was constructed by the British in 1802 and completed by 1804 and is of much environmental importance since the area is home to different species of fish, birds and plants and rich in biodiversity. Developing the Hamilton Canal was first undertaken by then Economic Development Minister Basil Rajapaksa in 2008, and 600 million rupees was invested under a development plan drawn by the Moratuwa University. Minister added that the canal will be connected to the Colombo port city, making it a more viable venture, offering land for investors to open restaurants and motels around the Dutch Canal. Fernando also said that a scheduled passenger boat service to Fort, attracting the office staff, will be launched, easing the traffic congestion. In addition, a mini cruise too would be introduced starting from the Colombo port city, he further informed. Thus, the Ministry of Fisheries, Urban Development Authority, the Sri Lanka Lands Reclamation Corporation and Provincial Road Development Authority and provincial councils will be engaged in making this project a success.
Stay tuned for more news right after this commercial break.